So I think the attendees are all here, so good.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Rob Munir. I'm the chair of the Port Council. I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making a audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself. And if you're joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you're recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you. Is anyone making a recording?
I don't see anybody.
Okay, good. So pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, as amended, Port Council members are participating. Some Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members shall be by roll call vote. Okay, before we start, is Mr. DeWicki joined us?
Yes, he has.
Okay,
Hi, good morning.
I'd like to introduce the new Fairhaven Port Council representative, Eric DeWicki. I would love to hear a little bit about your background, Eric, and just introduce yourself, if you would, please.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Eric DeWicki.
Be quiet.
Pleasure to be here. My background is started my Coast Guard career at the age of 16. First stationed out at Brent Point in the Coast Guard Reserve in between high school and college. When I was 21, I went into the Merchant Marine. 27, I was a DPA for Aaron Keel Ship Management, basically managing 2 LNG tankers in their quality management system. Then at 29, I became the president of Northeast Maritime Institute, which transitioned into a training institution. And then 2014, it became the nation's first maritime college. In between that, I have been a lead delegate to the International Maritime Organization since 1999, 96 to 99. I was on the U.S. delegation as a sub-delegate. Former executive governor of the UN's World Maritime University, and a little bit of stuff in between. And basically just want to let everybody know my first commercial job was as a porter at the Steamship Authority. And so it's really fun to be here, and hopefully I can simply help out where needed, and looking forward to learning more.
That's awesome background. Really bring a lot to our group. I guess I can go. I was the shipping guy until now, so now that you're here, you don't need me anymore. No, that's great. Terrific. Nice to have you, Eric. And of course, Eric is replacing or succeeding Mark Reese, who recently withdrew his application to the town of Falmouth to be reappointed to the Port Council. Mark was on the Port Council from March 2019 and served for over 5 years. And obviously was a really active participant. And so on behalf of the Port Council, I'd like to thank Mark for his efforts, and to welcome you, Eric, to the Port Council. I think you'll find this a fascinating group, and we have an important role to play in advising both the Board of Governors and the management of the Steamship Authority.
Welcome.
Rob, if I can weigh in just a moment, because I've had the benefit of getting to know Eric a little bit in my role. Just an extraordinary addition, I think, both from a background and technical expertise as well as energy. Really looking forward to working with Eric on the Port Council.
Thank you, Gordon.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you. Very good. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of June 4th?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
I'll do a roll call vote. Matt,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
in the room, do we have Joe?
Aye.
John?
Yep, Cahill, aye.
Eric, you're allowed to vote. You
We'll
can
give it
abstain
an
if you'd
aye.
like. You can abstain if you'd
I have read them and will say aye.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? Me neither.
Yourself.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the manager report. So Bob, over to you, please.
All right, the first item we have, I guess, mention who else is in the room here. Sean is running the Zoom, Mark Higgins, Mark Rosen, Terrence Keneally, Allison Fletcher, Richard Sullivan, and Stephen Coleman from staff are in the room. So, Mark A is down in the Alabama, and he'll have an update here on the Barnstable Aquinnah conversions.
Okay, good morning, everyone from Alabama. Start off, next slide, Sean. Okay, there's a picture of the Aquinnah as Pierside. The Aquinnah and Barnstable are right next to each other. Next. And this is a picture of the anchor windlass area down. And after painting, it's a little bit dirty right now, just some rust runoff, but it cleans up nicely. Next. This is a picture I had mentioned previously. We had to put some new evacuations in, and at the very top above Barnstable, we had to put a new evacuation pedestal and ladder weight as part of new Coast Guard requirements. Next. Just finishing off, we're a little bit more advanced here. That's a stove for the new galley, and we've got the two refrigerators are in place, and we're probably about a week away from finishing up completely in this. Next. This is the new stack area, the main engine and two auxiliary generator stacks. That's now completed and painted. That's the photo's a few days old. Next. So the milestones we've powered up the vessel. We have yesterday completed our first bunkering for fuel. We have done testing in our commissioning for potable water, air, and a number of other elements. We're getting ready now to do engine starts. All the electrical is hooked up and the power is hooked up, and we're ready to start doing commissioning. We have an incline stability test scheduled for the 12th of July. We're looking at our mechanical accommodations completion on the 9th of July. Looking at dock trials the 13th, sea trials the 14th, and departure to be determined. We got certificates to acquire. We've got testing. We have a lot of testing still going forward with, as everyone knows, we've taken every electrical wire off the boat, and we certainly expect to have some challenges on the startup. And with that, I'd do the financial snapshot. So with each project at a contract value of 13.7 million, we've had 1.74 million in changeovers for each vessel to date, bringing a current estimate of 30.7 million. And with that, I'll take any questions.
How's the temperature?
Temperature is toasty down here. Toasty. And we prefer to keep our hurricanes south of Cuba, and we should not discuss that anything further.
I didn't bring it up. Thank you so much, Mark, for everything you're doing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Any other questions for Mark from the Port Council? Thanks a lot, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Okay, so while we're on this topic, would just like to point out this past Thursday, the board did approve the proposal from Alabama Shipyard to perform the conversion of the remaining OSV, the MV Monomoy. We're currently working with the shipyard. Planning is underway to have the Monomoy move from Louisiana to Alabama by the end of July to be able to begin that process, that conversion process. And then staff is also working with Alabama Shipyard, reviewing the requirements and the lead time, and engineering work that needs to be done to convert the two main Caterpillar engines from EPA Tier 2 compliant engines to Tier 4 compliant engines. So we're working with them on that, and hopefully we'll have some good news coming forward on that once some of the engineering work is done.
Bob, can you provide a snapshot on the economics of that and how it compares with the other ones?
So I think that the budget that we had presented to the board had included we need on this vessel, unlike the Barnstable and Aquinnah, we need to do a fuller engine overhaul. So it seemed to make sense at the time, if we're going to be doing the conversion to a Tier 4, be able to coordinate that at the same time. The engine overhauls themselves are about $325,000. The conversion package from Caterpillar is about $650,000. But there's some engineering work that needs to be done, and the exhaust piping will need to be modified as well. So there'll be some additional costs there as we move forward. So the idea being is that, you know, we do this, and the Aquinnah and Barnstable, when they come up for engine overhauls, those would probably be something we'd be looking at doing to, you know, at least initial stages here, trying to reduce our carbon footprint.
Okay, so what is the contract amount?
The contract with Alabama Shipyard is $17 million. There's owner furnished items, including the aforementioned conversion kit of $2.5 million. And then I think we had 750,000, I think was the number, for supervision, project management, quality assurance, and our people being down in Alabama.
Okay, so then just to try to summarize, the 17 compares to the 13, but the 17 includes additional scope.
Okay, so yeah, so the 17 versus the 13.7 that we had for the first two vessels. There are a number of the change orders that we encountered on the Barnstable and Aquinnah were incorporated into this bid package as one thing.
Okay.
And I think in your diligent package is also a report that we had. We reached out to Elliott Bay Design Group for them to do an analysis of what the market is in the shipbuilding. And you know, that report's there, but some of the highlights or lowlights, I guess, is that they're seeing an 18% increase just over the past 15 months on the PPI for shipyards. So it's a determining factor on some of this price increase. So
What's our PPI?
Producer's Price Index. Similar to a CPI, but it's more specific to, you can pick which industries you're looking at. So, you know, whether it's steel prices, I think a big driver of it has been the labor cost as part of it, but that's included in your packet as well. So,
Yeah, I found that a very interesting report, actually. So it seems like I'm just trying to, you know, drill into this so I understand it. We've got the original 13.7 as a benchmark. We've got this new contract at 17 that includes the change orders, the value of the change orders that you had to do. It includes the value of the engine overhaul. So I guess my point is, it seems like you actually aren't incurring the full 18% that was predicted by the Elliott Bay report. You're feeling some of it, but not all of it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's some of it. I mean, the part of the difference between this 13.7 and the 17 million is that they were able to split the cost of the docking and undocking of the vessels over 2 vessels the first time. And this time it's over 1. So they had the same cost to bring in the barge and get a dry dock and put the SPMTs or is it SPMTs? Self-propelled, equipment to put the vessel up on the dock, and then at the end to take it off. So that cost was about $1.5 million of it. It was 1.5, 1.6 million for each of the Barnstable and Aquinnah, and for this vessel, it's 3.4 million, I think was the number. So it was that's part of it. We do have the same. We're using the same percentage for contingency on the Monomoy as we use for the Barnstable and Aquinnah as well. So that's another about $5 million in contingency, but we're hopeful. I mean, this being a sister vessel, all the engineering, pretty much is done at this point. They should be able to hit the ground running once they put the boat up on the hard, as they refer to it, and get going on the conversion.
Yeah, just like to add that, the advantage of Alabama Shipyard, besides doing the first 2 vessels, is they have a 250-ton gantry crane, which is ideally positioned to lift the 24-foot mid-body section out and handle it. That is, it's unprecedented. We would not be able to find that with another yard.
So what's the schedule?
So the schedule right now is we obviously need to get the contract done. We're looking at if we can get that done. We have a timing sequence between when the vessels there's a dry dock. We're going to be using Alabama's dry dock this time for the docking and the subsequent exchange of dry docking and onto the barge and onto the land. So we have a real timing issue that we need to take the vessel out of Houma, Louisiana, stack on or about the 1st of August, transport it and get it up on the hard on or about the 5th of August.
Okay, simple question. When are you going to finish?
They have a 10-month contract. So I think that now all the construction drawings are done. They are identical sisters. So I think the performance of the yard, as long as they have people, which is a concern everywhere, is that it's a 10-month period.
Thanks.
Rob,
any other questions?
Yeah, Rob, Joe. What's the difference between tier 4, tier 3, tier 2, Mark? Or somebody to explain that.
They're different. So when they were incorporated, so for example, the vessels we have now are tier 0. You went to tier 1, EPA designation, tier 2, tier 3, and it's based on the amount of emissions output on that. So I can give you some specifics.
And tier 4 was the least.
It's the least producing of diesel engines, and then it's required on any modern engines that we're going to be using, especially because they're over 800 horsepower.
Thank you.
I need pockets too.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, can I just?
Yes,
Chairman,
go
just
ahead.
want to throw a little quick thing in there for Joe and just anyone. The good news about this tier 4 conversion, which I've never even heard of them converting existing engines before, but with that said, there's plenty of room, I'm assuming, Mark, in the engine room area for the DPF stuff and all the things that get added that are gonna have to have space to be, maintained. Am I
Yeah,
correct on that? I'm
That
just
is, that is
guessing.
correct. The conversion is mostly exterior to the engine in
Oh,
placing in you're probably in the truck diesel world have been very used to.
urea.
Yeah, an injection, and that's really, the engine itself is gonna remain a 35 Caterpillar 3516 engine. And the modifications are exterior in the gas train.
Okay, great. That's even better. Okay. So the space for this new equipment is, because it's like you're manufacturing, it's like kind of like an artist, you just have to figure out where the stuff's going to go, how to hang it, etc. So I'm assuming that we have plenty of room.
Yeah, we have to get through an engineering process on it, but we have identified some large areas that we're removing equipment that we do not longer utilize from the former operator in the gas field. So we feel we have a good platform for installing all this equipment.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the Port Council?
Just a simple one, Rob, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the delivery date when that will be operational for the Aquinnah and the Monopoly and Barnstable?
Okay, so,
Actually, the Barnstable and the,
yeah, so the Barnstable was up there in milestones. We're targeting the 15th to have sea trials completed, but as Mark mentioned, where every wire was pulled, we anticipate that there's probably gonna be some, so the goal is to get that boat cleared before the end of July and start heading up north for that. The Aquinnah,
just up on the Barnstable for a second.
yeah,
So in the fleet running, September, October.
well, yeah, so it'd be coming up, it's about an 8 or 9 day sail.
Yeah,
So it'll be up here, say, just for round purposes, August 1st.
yeah.
They'll be going to Fairhaven. We need to do some outfitting of it. We need to have the local Coast Guard inspections performed because we'll only have a temporary COI when we leave Alabama until it gets up here. There's a marine evacuation system on these boats that they're gonna want to have tested, but that should be a relatively quick process in terms of getting it repacked.
September.
So hopefully we can get some training done and then put the boat online in September, yes.
And then
We have, just want to add, we have some extensive training we need to do. This is a much different vessel than our crews are used to, with 3 bow thrusters, controllable pitch propellers. This is a very different vessel, so we have a fair amount of training as people will be going off the after Labor Day. We'll have people available to start doing the training, but we need to have our crews totally trained, tested into all the terminals, and so we have a lot of work to do.
Then the Aquinnah would be a month later.
The Aquinnah had been about a month, it was basically a month behind.
Yeah,
But my understanding, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but they've been concentrating on getting the Barnstable done, so the sense is that has now slid a little bit more on that, so but based on a middle towards the end of July for the Barnstable, we'd be looking at end of August, beginning of September delivery of the Aquinnah up as well.
so really in the water, picking up passengers, but freight sometime October, November.
I would anticipate, yes.
Yeah, okay, good. People are asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're still waiting, as I said, the board just authorized us to enter into the agreement with Alabama Shipyard and
Yeah,
the shipyard timeline that Mark mentioned was they had mentioned 10 months, but we need to actually see the schedule
yeah,
as well, so.
yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Actually, you probably have the next one, the Dredge project.
I do.
Go for it.
Okay. Sean, there we go. Okay, so as we move further in, and I would ask Gordon Carter, if you would like to interject anytime, please feel free. As you have some details. So we have completed the dredging in the south slip at our Fairhaven maintenance facility. Next slide. And so we completed the south slip on the 19th of June, removing a total of just under 6,000 cubic yards. We've now commenced, we're in the north slip. We're looking at a completion date on or about the 10th of July. And, there's a lot of start and stops in there of, with different amount of barges removing materials. So we think we're about at the 50% mark at 350 cubic yards, where our total estimated removal would be approximately 742 cubic yards. I don't know if you might have anything to add to that, Gordon.
No, just appreciate the cooperation and the patience, as we've talked about, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting. There are a lot of moving parts on a dredging project. It's sort of complicated and complex with the number of locations that we're doing. So the contractor moves equipment around, wherever and however they can. So yeah, I think we're still aiming to wrap your piece up on the 10th. So, just over a week.
Very appreciative.
Yeah, no, thank you for all the cooperation and communication. So.
Any other questions on the dredging project or comments? Okay, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
Bob, back to you.
We have an update on the website, so we're getting a microphone over to Stephen.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Stephen.
Good morning. So Sean, if you wouldn't mind putting up the second slide. So as it stands, as of last week, we have 59 items in the to-do column, 15 in development, 11 ready for review, and presently 194 that have been approved since March 13th. And if I draw your attention to the right side of the presentation, where there are 59, there were previously 37 the last time this presentation was given. Where there are 15 in development, there was previously 16. Where there were 11, there was previously 9. And to indicate the velocity of this project, where there are 194 presently approved by the SSA, there were previously 154. Site security has been finalized. Google Play Store has been finalized. And what remains in progress is the load testing and site monitoring. Next slide, please. What I've added to the presentation this time that's different than the last is work identified as critical. These will be what we deem the showstoppers. And identified presently are 20 that have been assigned to the Steamship Authority IT development team. And since this publication last week, 4, if not 6, have already been closed. 2 have been assigned to SaberTech, which is the reservation system vendor. 2 have been assigned to Stellar Elements, and 18 remain unassigned. We don't anticipate finding additional critical items, but based on the trajectory this project has taken in the past, it wouldn't surprise us if there were a few remaining unidentified. Next slide, please. So this deployment, the launch timeline hasn't changed since we've spoken last, other than line item number 4. If you recall, on May 7th, the Port Council provided us sufficient time to get this project done. So as it stands today, we've put a completion date of September 27th, which is a Friday, which is why I've added the early October. We do anticipate finalizing in September, but we've given ourselves that wiggle room based on the calendar date of the 27th. And I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Any questions from the board council?
Yeah, this is Eric DeWicki. Stephen, how's it going? I know this is a big project. I've been watching it for about a year, and hearing about it for about a year. And as a user of the system, you're beta testing it, you've got it pretty much preloaded. How do you see it moving forward? Are you excited about it? Do you think it's going to be implemented in a seamless way? Because it is a pretty critical tool that the public is going to be using. And it's kind of exciting, to be honest with you. And, but how do you feel as the project manager of this project?
I am not the project manager,
Okay.
just to let you know.
But a guy in charge of telling us.
But nonetheless, depending on the day, very excited. Depending on another day, it might be a bit in the doldrums. The truth of the matter is the project is highly complicated, requires vast resources that the steamship struggles to maintain for the purpose of this project. But nonetheless, the timeline, as extended as it has been, is coming to a close. I'm very excited. The functionality is solid. I think the user community at large will be happy with the functionality. There is more to do after publication, but it is a great step forward in regards to the web presence for the Steamship Authority.
Okay, it's exciting. Yeah,
It is exciting.
Thanks for that question, Eric. Usually I'm the one who asks it, so glad to hand that off to you. Stephen's used to getting that from me. Any other questions or comments?
Just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to say great thanks to the Port Council who gave us a couple of months reprieve. I think it was the release valve that kind of helped people take a step back, breathe a sigh of relief, and then get back to work. I think it was well timed and certainly needed under the circumstances. So thank you very much.
Thanks for that comment.
Thank you.
This is a pragmatic group, and we have the long view.
You certainly do.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bob, back to you.
All right, so next we have an update on the SQMS audit that was performed, and we got our Director of HSQE, Bridget Sullivan, present.
Good morning, everyone. So in June, we completed our external surveillance ISO and ISM audits. Auditor Ty Haynes of RENA conducted a 5-day on-site audit, which included the various site locations which are noted on the presentation. It also included 3 of our vessels: Martha's Vineyard, Island Home, and Aquinnah. Shortly thereafter, we had Aaron DeMarcan of RENA conduct a 1-day audit of our ISM for conformance to our safety management. Next slide, please. So to aid in explaining the audit process, I created a Venn diagram ISO and ISM standards overlap on various processes within our safety quality management system. So it's important to note that the audits themselves, ISO and ISM, rather, have very different focuses. ISO mostly on quality, ISM on safety. All of which are subject to potential findings during either audit. So as we may see, and some of the findings, there may be overlaps, but the focus again is different depending on what's being targeted during their audit. They may identify other areas of concern outside of the quality or safety realm. Next slide, please. And to provide a more visual example of how the findings are viewed, I also included a stoplight, as you can see on the slide. Major and minor nonconformities are what we consider our showstoppers. And depending on the focus of the finding, it could result in a vessel's inability to set sail. So if it's a gross negligence in a safety realm, we may not be able to operate that vessel, for an example. Yellow then moves on to our cause for concern, where we may be moving ahead towards a major or minor nonconformity. So it still needs to be addressed in one way or another. And green, of course, is our best practices, which is our ultimate goal for all our policies and processes. In the next couple of slides, we will go into our findings, and I would like to rest assured that we do not have any showstoppers per se. Next slide, please. So we'll begin with our red light nonconformities. Again, as I mentioned, showstoppers, these three findings are more a failure of our SQMS policy to meet the specified requirements. So the first one, it was identified that there was a gap in having written policy for tracking US Coast Guard inspections and internal audits within the SQMS. So we have created the tracking, but we've not yet taken that policy and put it in writing in our SQMS, to which we are well on our way. The second one similarly was a gap in having written requirement for making a ship specific and inspection binder, to which was identified previously as well. And so all of our vessels have this binder, but again, we don't have the policy that says they must have this binder. So we're trying to move it from the nice to have to the must have. And then finally, we are also in the process of finalizing our sexual harassment, sexual assault policies and procedures, which meet US Coast Guard requirements. We do have training in place. However, there are more particulars that are now required by the US Coast Guard, which we are going to again move into our system in a written form. So all three, again, what they have in common is we are doing these things. We've not yet documented them within our system, and that's where we're headed. Next slide, please. Now, with regards to our yellow light findings, again, these could be potential nonconformities if no action is taken. And so the first one was a gap with our organizational charts. It was just a minor discrepancy that there wasn't a hashed line between the designated person ashore to the general manager, just showing that we have that loop in the event that it's needed to have that direct link. And the second one was cybersecurity, which identified a gap in mitigating other potential cybersecurity risks. So what our policy did capture was phishing. What our auditor identified was that we might want to dive deeper into that to see what other security risks we might have specific to cyber. Next slide, please. And those that we just discussed are specific to the ISM, and now we have our non-ISO audit findings. And I'd rather summarize these and include that I'd like you to know all 9 of these are not yet finalized. So Rena, our auditor, Ty Haynes, conducted the ISO audit, identified 9 opportunities. He then submits them to Rena, to which they may agree or disagree that they're all opportunities. They may elevate some of these to observations. We don't think we have that concern at this time, however, just so that everybody's on the same page. And again, all of these really are opportunities to further expand on our existing policies and procedures in various departments. We don't really have anything concerning here per se. And we do already have a process in place to which we will be reviewing all of the policies and procedures between now and the end of the year to meet conformance with all of these opportunities, regardless of whether or not they've become future observations. And finally, regarding the budgets, we have just over 94,000 that remains. I've not received any invoices, but we did not have any deviations from our original contract, and therefore I do believe we're well in good standing. Any questions?
I'd like
Any
to ask,
questions from the board council?
yeah, it's Eric DeWicki again. I'm sorry, I wasn't even going to speak today, but this is fascinating. I love the quality management system. That was my first job at a desk. Do you have a timeline to mitigate the major nonconformities or?
Yes, so our requirement is to meet them within 30 days of the audit finding. The audit finding was July 18th.
Okay.
We have a team meeting next week to discuss what the next steps are, so that whatever plan we put in place, we can implement within the next year. Per RENA, we're actually required to provide them with our plan so that they can go ahead and approve that, which also helps us mitigate any future concerns with the next audit.
Sure. And do you have an internal process that you're doing internal audits quarterly, biannually? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so we do have internal audits annually on an annual basis. And one requirement is that for the vessels specifically, they have to be on the run. So right now we do have an outstanding internal audit for the governor. And once that vessel returns to service, we will have that vessel audited as well.
One last question. How long has the steamship been using RENA? Say, I think years ago, we used to use ABS, but I was a little surprised we're using RENA as the RO. But RENA's great. They deal with passenger vessels all over the world. But you know, was a little bit surprised it was RENA, quite honestly, not in a negative way, just surprised that we weren't using ABS. But I think that's maybe a positive thing.
I'll have to defer to Bob.
So we went out when we were developing the safety quality management system with SMS out of Portland, Maine. There's some starts and stops with COVID and everything. When we got to the point of needing to select a regulatory responsible organization, we did put out a request for proposals. We got from RENA, I think ABS.
We had bids from the RENA Indian Classification Society, and then that was it. We only had two, and then ABS did bid. So
they did not.
No, okay. So it seemed RENA was deemed the lowest eligible responsible bidder. Away we went. We got our certification.
They're pretty great with passenger vessel ops, so clearly it's not a bad choice.
Yeah, it's been a great experience with them, and they've been doing a great job. We have a good rapport with their team, and it's been working out really well.
Great. Yeah, and well done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Nothing further on that topic. Back to you, Bob.
All right, so next we have the 2025 winter and spring operating schedule. So turn it over to Mark Higgins and Allison Fletcher.
Don't we start? Okay.
You got the microphone.
Oh, you have the microphone, don't I? Oh, let's see if this thing have time. We're trying to present the 2025 winter and spring operating schedule, both the Nantucket and the Martha's Vineyard routes. This past March, the authority placed newspaper advertisements for its proposed 2025 winter, spring, summer, and fall operating schedules for both routes for the period of January 4th, 2025 through January 4th, 2026. The notice of the proposed schedules were also published for public comments on the authority's website. On April 29th, the authority received a petition with respect to its proposed schedules from the residents of the town of Falmouth and the surrounding areas. In their petition, the 82 Falmouth residents objected to the authority's scheduling of the 5:30 a.m. freight trip from Woods Hole, and they also amended past petitions to include the 5:30 departure from Vineyard Haven, stating the reason for is because of the traffic through the trucks and the noise. On May 7th in 2024, the authority conducted a public hearing on the proposed schedule. The only comments received at the following hearings regarding the 2020 winter, spring, summer, fall schedule were due to the summer schedule. So at this time, we're asking the board to approve both the Nantucket and the Vineyard winter and spring schedule for 2025.
Okay,
So,
I don't have to raise my hand, Mr. Chairman, do I?
no, I was just going to say that, Eric, now that we've got your expertise in compliance, we also have a subject matter expert on the schedule on our port council, and that's Nat. And so, Nat, over to you to
Yeah, just,
interpret
I'm not, and believe me, I'm not an expert on the vineyard, but I am after all the latest stuff. I'm actually getting a little smarter on the vineyard schedule.
Working on it with you.
A little bit.
That's
Allison,
scary.
thank you, Allison, for this. So you know what I'm gonna say? How have we plugged in a little more space? For the
So
bulk.
on the Nantucket route,
Yeah,
you'll notice on the schedule that
I
during the
didn't look
beginning.
at it, so I'm sorry.
What? You didn't?
I
Nah.
didn't. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I trust you. But go ahead.
So from the January 4th to the March 25th schedule 2025 on the Nantucket route. When the Nantucket is running in place of the Eagle while it's out for its repair period, the Woods Hole will be running in its place. Once the Eagle comes back, then you guys will have the Barnstable running.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about allocation on the what would have been the Gay Head, let's say, versus what we're gonna be doing. So if you've got the Woods Hole in, then you're already doing it by just because that is there.
Right, now on
Okay,
the next
I see.
schedule, from March to May. You're gonna be having the Eagle, the Barnstable, and the Aquinnah running. You're gonna have the 2 new freight boats running on your end during the
That's-
March to May schedule.
That's gonna be a lot of service. But interesting. We'll have to see how that
But
plugs in.
we're also doing the certain trips aren't scheduled on Sunday.
Yeah,
Like we've done in the past, so they're not gonna be
Yeah, and
running
also,
full
so
7
we're
days.
gonna, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep talking over you like that. Apologize. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
It's 20, how many miles away am I from you right now? 34 as the crow flies, so that's probably why. So anyway, so, all right, so you're gonna be able to have the 6:30 trip as a mixed load, right?
Correct.
And what trip, we're looking to run that as the triple 7 days a week. I mean, 3 trips a day, whatever. And then the other one will have plugged in as where we can get rid of the 5:30 or 5:45, whatever, on Sunday, and the potentially the 4:30 PM from Hyannis on Saturday.
Yeah,
Right.
it depends on which schedule, the dead of winter, certain trips will be available if needed
No,
on
that's
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about the March 28th or whatever
Okay.
you were saying.
All right,
Yeah, I'm
so that
sorry.
one, yeah, no, that's fine, so 2 trips, the 6:30 and the 9:15 will operate on Sunday, however, those they're operated when needed on those days, and then same thing with 3:11 and 3:12, they're not scheduled to operate on Saturday. But if we need them, they're in there, be put on, so.
The key to this is in the dead of winter, whether we have the Woods Hole on or not, running on well, I'll just call the Gay Head schedule, right? I just have to say that because the nostalgia has already started in my head. So, just making sure, working with IT and how we're gonna roll this out, where we make sure we have the trips that aren't gas be mixed.
Correct.
So everybody knows that those are real boats that actually can carry passengers and don't have the draft issue.
So you're not
all
down
that
to 3 trips a day.
Yeah,
Like at least, unfortunately, I believe.
Yeah.
No, I had worked with IT, especially with the Woods Hole, on making sure when it's not hazardous, that
Yep.
it is showing up online. And that we'll be doing the same thing with the Aquinnah and the Barnstable, because they will also not have, they're similar to the Woods Hole, as they won't have the draft issues.
Yeah.
That
And-
they have in the Sankety house.
and also that thing we talked about, I talked to Elaine about what we talked about unwinding at least Friday during the week of the 10:45 and the 8 a.m.
The second
having-
hazardous.
being technically hazardous in the schedule, but
Right.
but like removing that designation completely on, at least on Friday. Was
Yeah,
her
and-
thought. That was her thought after you and I talked about, we have to do something with that. To
Right,
get more
and-
people, more cars booked on these boats, especially on Fridays.
Right, and right now too, even currently, the second hazardous trip, if there's nothing hazardous booked on it, we're trying to remove those designations as soon as possible. So those trips are open for everybody else as well,
Yeah,
so.
and that was actually, you just, I didn't even want to bring that up because that's too complicated, but yes, getting the cancellation. So if we have a meeting or send a memo to like noon and, everybody that's involved in that, because this is the good thing about Nantucket, is there isn't like players out of nowhere that show up like that. You know who they are, you already got their numbers. So if we can make that 10:45 just automatically switch, if the 10:45 hazardous reservation is canceled, 24 hours, 36 hours ahead, whatever that is.
Yep.
That will be one of the best things we've ever done, if you can figure out how to do that.
Well, especially with the new boats without the draft issues.
No,
that the
I know, but I
current
mean in the
boats
system,
have.
I mean in the system. That's
No, I
scary if we
know.
can do that. Okay, I've said enough, Mr. Chairman. All set. What are you laughing at?
Appreciate that. Any other comments or questions on the proposed schedules? I do have a question, and that is, I think we're being asked for a vote, as I understand.
Yeah, and Bob has something to add.
Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, the reason that we're splitting, originally back in March, we were looking at for the whole year. We're splitting off the winter, and spring here because we need to, start, considering when, we would start, doing the trucks, the bulks, for those schedules. The thing to point out here on the Vineyard route is, we're looking at a construction project at the Vineyard Haven Pier that needs to be performed. And, much like this past, spring, spring, we were down to 1 slip. And, depending upon, the work that's being done, we anticipate that there'll be a similar, situation there where we're down to 1 slip for a period of time. So the schedules that are being presented, we're berthing only 1 vessel on the Vineyard overnight. And that means that 5:30 trip off island, because of the construction is being eliminated. And we'll be having the other vessels berthed in Woods Hole. But we're still working on determining what the construction schedule needs to be. The engineer's still working on it, and Mark informs me that we should have something by the end of the month here, so we'll have a clearer understanding as to that, but we'll need to, in anticipation of that, we're proposing this change.
We're also, real quick, telling our shippers to also still put in for the 5:30, because depending on what's happening with the work
Yeah.
schedule, they'll be at least waitlisted for it, so if we can run it, the waitlist will automatically match with them. So it's something that they'll get if we decide we can do it, so.
Okay,
John,
If I may.
you got your hand up.
thank you, sir. We have the estimated timeline.
I'm hoping that we could get this, have the engineering complete by the end of July. go through the process of Concom, get it out on the street, advertised, and have somebody in there this winter, February, March timeline at that time. I mean, we need the initial report on that whole slip two and the work we did this past winter.
Yeah.
There were several components of that that we're gonna wind up doing over a 3 to 4 year period of time during the winter months. So this will be the next phase of that. And what we're hoping to do is the under deck repairs to that area during this time.
So you said February, March start,
February, March start.
and how about a wrap up?
I've got to get the engineering, but the goal is that to have that wrapped up before we get into April, by April vacation.
The only thing I asked, we got a lot of lessons learned from.
Yes, we do.
We can make sure we put those things in place.
Communication, timeline,
Alternatives, maybe.
Yeah, we talked those blocks that this time we hit C Street going over to very tolling.
Right.
All
those options.
First rodeo last year, we learned from that.
Right.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
I expect a much better result this winter as we get the construction.
Okay.
So Mike, that'll be coming, the fast ray from the Bedford, you wanna bring that back into Old Bluffs again?
Well, if I may, so I did have a conversation with the town administrator about the possibility of C Street using their pier in the harbor there, a little bit more sheltered for that time of year. And haven't been able to touch base yet with C Street, but earlier this year, they were in the process of doing that before the project ended up wrapping up. So we'll work with them to make sure that coordinate that to have them go over there. So that way it eliminates one of the conflicts. Like that.
You talking about going to Old Bluffs or
For the C Street going to Oak Bluffs.
Right.
Is there any possibility if again it's delayed like it was this past year that you would open up Old Bluffs earlier?
Yes, we're gonna, if we come to that, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
My only concern with that is during that time of year, the amount of diversions and weather delays that we have.
We would also look at potentially altering the freight schedules by 10 or 15 minutes, just to give it a little bit more of a space between them and the larger boats, that way it's not as right on top of each other, like I said.
Yeah.
Do we have to take a vote on this?
Yes, well,
Yes, we'd like to have the full council either recommend or not recommend the schedule too.
Could I just ask one more question about?
Yes, go ahead, John.
Mark Higgins, you mentioned this might have to go on another year and another year. This is a 3 or 4.
So, yeah, when we got the report, we have the finger pier that we did this past winter, the underdeck repairs, the delamination of the top deck that we have to fix.
Yeah.
And then we also, the fourth component of that, the next phase, where was the fendering system and the repairs there.
So we're in year 2 of a 4-year retro.
We're in year 2 of a 4-year project building.
All right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rob.
And we also have the 2 transfer bridges that are going out to bid as well.
So are they gonna be done in that same time period or that after the 4 years?
Those will be done over this winter as well.
Okay.
That's not as time intensive.
Yeah,
I would anticipate to replace each transfer bridge. You're talking about 1 week for each transfer bridge.
all right, and I don't want to take up everyone's time, but when in your communications, could you just make sure that you do touch with the Tisbury police?
Yes,
Because they can ask a lot of questions. And the more that you channel stuff directly to them, they'll be your safeguards and they'll continue to communicate with you. Yeah.
they're on one of the JTC calls, and I'll make sure we communicate to them, and then Alice and I'll reach out to them directly as well.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thanks for that. Just to be clear, so we're voting on the winter and spring schedules for 2025, and what is the plan for the summer schedule? What point does that get addressed?
Well, so we're still working on the section 15A report. We would anticipate probably at next month's meeting that will be need to get that done. We need to we'll be quickly cycling into, the need to be booking the bulks for the next season. And we also, for budget purposes, we need to kind of nail down what the schedule is going to look like.
Okay, thank you. So do I hear a motion to approve the schedules for the winter and spring of 2020?
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Move approval. Yep.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Let's start with it in the room. John?
Tisbury, yes.
Joe?
Oak Bluffs, yes.
Eric?
Fairhaven, yes.
Yes.
Nat?
Yes, aye.
Gordon?
I,
Munir, aye. Thank you. Motion passed.
Rob, before we finish on the scheduling part of it, I just wanted to commend Allison. I happened to be over here when I was getting my car serviced and stopped by, and it was like scheduling a dinner, the dinner or the reception for a wedding. She had all this stuff spread over her desk. This is for the trucks. Who's gonna be sitting at what table? And I want to commend you. I don't know who was working with you that day. You guys did,
Thank
from what
you.
I understand, talking to some of the truckers, you guys did a very, very commendable job.
At the truck department, they just were absolutely amazing this whole process.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank you for that, because they.
Thank you, Allison.
Yep, I'll make sure I'll pass that along to them as well, so.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mark.
Allison, her team, the reservations office, everybody involved. That was several weeks of tough work.
I heard.
Put in.
Yeah, I think we did.
Manually.
Manually, Allison was down here in the small conference room with literally a poster board.
We were able to move the entire summer reservations within a 3-week period. For the vineyard route.
Well, a lot of hard work, a lot of hours by the team over Allison, Angela, Wendy, the folks, Heather, everybody.
Heather,
over.
Phoebe.
Yeah, everybody over at the
Clarissa.
reservations office put a lot of hours into this.
Thank you.
Here. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the 401 North licensing agreement. Bob?
All right, so we previously brought this forward to the Port Council, following that omission on my part of notifying Oak Bluffs of what our plan was. I did have attend one of their meetings virtually. I have provided them with the staff summary along with the the comments that have been provided. I do see Jonah's on the line, so staff is still looking at having this approved, even if it's on a trial basis, to provide 41 North the opportunity to, if on a as needed basis, to be able to provide tug and barge service from New Bedford to the vineyard, much like they do right now for Nantucket. I think for Nantucket this past year, Joan may correct me, but I think it was 11 trips for 55 vehicles or something along those lines. Might be bring Joan over. As we're looking at the schedule, just knowing how busy it is in Vineyard Haven Harbor, staff wants to have the ability to be able to direct them to the Oak Bluffs Pier. Indeed, welcome, Jonah. On occasion, so that way we can coordinate the schedules a little bit better. The restrictions that we have on the Oak Bluffs Pier are that the vehicles have to be under 80,000 pounds. These are drive-on, drive-off vehicles, much like what that would be transiting on our vessels. These aren't oversized loads because our transfer bridges and gallows wouldn't allow that. So we're looking at that, and 41 North has worked closely with our Nantucket terminal manager on scheduling trips in and out of there. We actually had to earlier this year. We actually hired Jonah because we had an emergency when the electric cable had gone out over Nantucket. So we had to have we got one of the shippers to agree to have their vehicles transported by Jonah. So that way we could bring over some emergency generators to Nantucket. So Jonah and his team has worked closely with us in the past in coordinating these things, and I would anticipate that we'd have the same cooperation from 41 North for, should the Vineyard license be approved. So.
Okay,
John, I don't know.
Port Council, there's a lot of information obviously in the packet. I hope that people have had a chance to look at it. Questions, comments?
I just make a quick little point, just to sort of a general, from back when this all started. The badging stuff has always been sort of random, not perfectly organized with one or two people. And this is having somebody that is sort of like licensed and has the badge set up for the docks to tie up. All this stuff matters. It's not about more vehicles. This is not the case. This is about odd stuff, things that would normally come on the steamship, but require all kinds of hoop jumping to make work, whether it's an event, whether it's something oversized, whether something has timing issues, weird trailers that don't just drive off the boat like normal, like all kinds of strange stuff that happens. So I like this. At least it worked good for Nantucket, and it will in the future. So hoping everything can work good on the Vineyard.
So if I may, I think Mr. Lowell is referring to that at the Nantucket terminal, we do offload barges on the face of the pier.
No,
they bring over the modular homes and things like that. That's not the type of vehicles that they're proposing to bring over on this service. So
yeah, I wasn't trying to say the Vineyard's becoming Nantucket. I'm just saying the cooperation and having a way to communicate with someone that's already knows what they're doing. That's what I'm talking about. So thank you.
So, and
I was gonna say that, Bob and I have been in contact, and I've been in contact with the chairperson of the Oak Bluffs Board the Oak Bluffs Board of Select Persons. And I spoke with her several times, and they have some concerns about probably a week and a half ago. They got all of the material that Bob had sent to them, and she dispensed it to the other 4 members of the board. They haven't met to discuss it yet. They'll be meeting on Tuesday, the 8th. And at that point in time, or sometime after that, they will come with their recommendation. Until they do, I have to wait to see what their decision or what they may instruct me to do. I know, speaking to the chairperson, she was concerned about staging. I think part of it was that they would not be staging, as I had mentioned to Bob, on steamship property, but they may be staging on town property. And if you know where the dock is in Oak Bluffs, there's no place there to really stage them. That's one of the problems she's concerned with. And she had several other questions. So until they meet on next Tuesday, the 8th, I have no idea what questions they're going to ask, and I'm probably going to be attending that meeting to find out. I think after that, they will make some sort of proposal and probably appear in person at the governor's meeting, which is going to be held on the Vineyard. Is it the 20th? 16th, excuse me, on the 16th, the following Wednesday, I believe it is. That's one of the criteria, I think, that at least from my point of view, being the board council from Oak Bluffs, that I have to respect and wait for their decision.
yeah, if I may, so I understood those concerns. In terms of this, the vehicles would be required to have a driver in order to, they wouldn't be able to be taken off the barge until there's a driver there. So they'd be taking them off and going off site. Any vehicles that would be loading onto the barge from the island, we would anticipate that those would be light loads, so therefore they would be able to stage on up here to load onto the barge. So,
and this would only be for the summer schedule,
and right
for Oak Bluffs.
But when we have Oak Bluffs open,
yes, yeah,
and accessible, yes.
Hey, Rob.
John, do you have any other perspective from Martha's Vineyard?
Well, not a perspective, but maybe what we might want to do is just table this until we hear back from the select board. from Oak Bluffs, given what Joe just shared?
I guess,
Next meeting?
I'd like to hear or understand what tabling it will do in terms of scheduling or anything like that. And what are the impacts of not providing a recommendation today? And I also think with Jonah here, might give him a chance to speak if he cares to.
Sure, yeah.
Morning,
I have a
Council.
few things to add, but go ahead.
Appreciate the opportunity to be heard this morning and for the continued consideration and discussion. We've continued to receive inquiries both for Nantucket as well as Martha's Vineyard. The opportunity here to hopefully assist the steamship with the vineyard this summer season we believe would be beneficial for the public as well as for the steamship. And you know, if there are any further questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer them.
Could I just ask a question? How many trips would you anticipate making in the course of a week or a course of a month into Oak Bluffs, let's say, this summer, during summer?
My gut would be probably 1 to 2 trips per month.
Month? Thank you.
Thanks, Jonah. So revisiting the question of the impact or if we don't make a decision to vote on this and we table it, what are the impacts?
Well, I think in fairness to 41 North, this is an application that was put in this past fall for the service. We did post it in the local papers for public comment. We did have which we received I know 60 plus public comments about it. Almost all of them were in favor of that. There were a couple. I know Town of Tisbury had did submit a letter of concern, some of the concerns, particularly with the impacts on the inner harbor there, and that's why when we went back, we looked at and we're trying to mitigate that by using Oak Bluffs as a little safety valve there for that. I think obviously the board meets on the 16th. If it's not then, if Oak Bluffs could likewise voice their concerns to the board, and whether it's taken up. But again, I think it is just this has been sitting on a back burner for a period of time here, and feel that it's we need to. The reason we put it on the agenda is I think we need to be moving forward on this one way or the other to give 41 North some clarity.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead. Yep.
I think studies were done about 30 years ago suggesting it was a good idea to have freight traffic from the New Bedford area to augment what your needs are. And I think what I've heard is you have a relationship already with Jonah to facilitate your needs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, 41 North has a license to provide this service to Nantucket.
Okay, but do you ever call Jonah and say, hey, we need to fill a gap here because we're in rough shape? Earlier this spring, we did reach out to him because of the issue with the power cable going to Nantucket, and National Grid needed to bring over 11 generators, and we needed to open up space on our vessels in order to facilitate moving those over. Sure. So that's a good thing. That's a positive thing.
Yes.
And the staging is going to be at your facility, at your pier?
Yeah. So the process that takes place over Nantucket is that they'll arrive. They've modified one of their barges that fits into our slip that has the radius on it, so it pulls up to the transfer bridge. And they offload, I believe, 5 vehicles is the typical max, typical load on when they have up to 5 vehicles. They'll offload and go off site, and there's a return trip, they'll load them up and they'll move away. They coordinate that with the terminal manager in Nantucket to make sure it's not interfering with any of the dockings or undockings of our vessels, or any of the barge activity that takes place on the face of the pier there, which is, typically aggregate or modular homes, things like that, so.
And that'll be the case for Oak Bluffs.
And whether it's Oak Bluffs or Tisbury, it would be the same case. They did pull in, the drivers have to be there, otherwise the vehicles don't come off the barge. And they'll go away, and they'll have to have any vehicles that are gonna be loading. They'll be staged with a driver and put on the barge, and away they'll go.
So it essentially meets your mission. You're supporting the public need. It's that stopgap, it's that filler. I don't see any negative in this whatsoever, but that's I think it's exciting to see these alternatives be put in place.
Yeah.
If I may though, the only stick here is that Oak Bluffs didn't find out about this until the meeting that was held on June 4th. So to say that there's been a delay, we just found out about it, and that was a month ago, and the Board of Selectmen only got this information maybe 8 or 9 days ago. So we're working that with short notice.
Robert, if I may.
Go ahead. I didn't hear it, John.
Eric, I appreciate your input, and I just want to bring everybody up to speed on Tisbury's position, which I've stated a couple of times. We are all in favor, all in on making sure that we have alternatives. We want to see New Bedford as an active port, whether it's bringing freight or passengers. Our concern has been since the beginning is that our harbor is a year-round port, and the right side of the harbor, just to keep it simple, the right side of the harbor is where the Steamship Authority comes in now. Along that same area is a lot of where the cultural center is, the restaurants are, the shops are. The left side of the harbor is more the industrial side. And so what we're trying to do, and we asked Jonah maybe to comment on this, is to bring the vessels that come from New Bedford, start a relationship with the left side of the harbor. We've got some options with Tisbury Towing and Transportation. They are actually doing this kind of work now. They are bringing goods and services in aggregate from New Bedford over to Martha's Vineyard and doing it on the left side of the harbor. So what I heard up recently is that now we might have the opportunity for maybe 41 North, which I really respect the company, to actually build a relationship with Tisbury Towing. And so maybe what I'd like to ask today is we need to exhaust that possibility. And I would like to see if Jonah would be open to calling up Tisbury Towing and Transportation to see if they would allow you to use their slip. And there's a lot of benefits about this slip. It is an 18 feet versus 11 feet. They're building a second slip. So if you look at the layout of the harbor and what we're trying to do with that, right side of the harbor, recreational, pleasure craft, cultural events, left side of the harbor, industrial. And we need to start planning for that going forward, and anything that we start differently just takes away from our goals. So
I think what I'm hearing is you have this need now to make sure that the public is getting their needs taken care of. But you have a long-term plan in place, and I think it's a great plan, and I know exactly the area you're talking about. Is the option, maybe approving this as maybe 1 year or a 2-year plan to take care of the Steamship Authority's needs as they're realizing these delays as they're building new vessels, as they're bringing new vessels into trade. I certainly appreciate what you're talking about. Personally, I'd like to see cargo run out of Fairhaven at the Fairhaven facility eventually, right? It just makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think there's this need. There's been loads and loads of controversy based on the services that have had these deltas, and being based on manpower, weather is increasing. You've got all these new dynamics that are in place. that having this as an option, even if it's just for 1 year or 2 year, do it as a temporary opportunity. You have a plan in place, and I would hate to see everybody here get blamed for the problems if we're not being proactive. I think this is a great proactive solution that doesn't hurt anybody really. And I think it is an opportunity that you can have a great plan to move all cargo to that left side of the harbor. I really think that's a great strategy, and I think it's imperative for what your needs are. I bring my tall ship to Bob Douglas's place all the time. And it's a beautiful place to recreate and really have people connect with your community. What you're saying, there's not a thing wrong with that. I think it makes total sense. But I think the service to the public is the imperative right now based on the last year's hiccups. And nobody's really to blame except the times, right? But
Well, there is a hiccups from last year. Even not any comments.
Okay.
The problems were with Nantucket.
Okay.
So, you know, I appreciate your feedback though. And I think what I'm really asking is, let's just keep exhausting that opportunity of having Tisbury Towing and Transportation be involved with the decision and maybe allow 41 North to be used first. Let's start off on the right foot, as opposed to trying to correct things later on. And the word I got on the street, Joe, that would be, I think they would be welcoming a phone call. That's a recent development.
Okay, I'd be happy to reach out to them. We'd attempted a few months back without success, but if that's what you're hearing, I'd gladly speak with Tisbury.
Yeah.
And if we as members of the Port Council from the Vineyard would be happy to meet with Mr. Packer and you.
Right.
To see if we could, will we know him to help out.
So
Yeah,
there's a couple things that motivate me. One is it's only 1 to 2 times a month, so it seems like it's something that is relatively modest in terms of scope. And I would sort of in line with Eric's point, think that this is somewhat of an experiment that can evolve over time as we understand how this might work. My second point is, 55 out of the 60 constituents that wrote emails are from my area. And I just made that number up, but it's a very high percentage are from Falmouth who'd like to see this initiative take place so that some forward movement is made on this front. So those are the 2 points I would add to this conversation from my perspective. I think we've probably been around the horn here. I guess I will ask, is there a motion to approve the license for 41 North as proposed?
Rob, I think if I can,
Can't hear
because
you, Nat. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gordon.
yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to make the motion, even though I'm in favor of it. But Joe's point about the select board, I would be reluctant to vote for something that the Oak Bluff Select Board still has some big questions on. And I am a full-throated supporter of 41 North and of increasing freight from New Bedford. It's something that we've been committed to, and Jonah's a terrific operator, a member of the port. But just for the good working order, I think we need to know that if in fact these things are going into Oak Bluffs, and I think I hear you correctly, Bob, that the message to the select board is there will be no staging on Oak Bluffs property, right? That all staging inbound and outbound will be done either on the vessels or on the steamship pier, which I should give them some comfort. But Joe, I'll defer to you, right? If you think it's good for us to approve it, maybe subject to or whatever, I will. But I'm sensitive to your concerns about the select board not having the chance to vet this.
I mean, I have to follow the instructions. I'm not against this. I think it's a good idea that we should be helping out Falmouth. But again, the Board of Selectmen only got this information from the last meeting that there was something that they wanted to come into Oak Bluffs, and they only got the packet maybe 8 days ago. So they'd like to take a look at it, and that's been part of the problem. I mean, this has been around for 6 or 7 months. We've only had it for a month in Oak Bluffs. We didn't know they wanted to commit to Oak Bluffs. It's always been Vineyard Haven. So they're meeting next week, and the board is meeting the following week on the vineyard. So the selectmen will have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Davis and the board at that time. But at this point in time, I would have to vote against it, but that's just Oak Bluffs. I mean, there's 5 members here, so.
That's, yeah.
Go ahead, Nat.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to the early 2000s now, in my head. You don't vote against the other islands' request. That's just the way it's supposed to work. It's always worked that way. I mean, if there's a problem with their select board people or confusion or whatever, you have to respect that. That's just how things work. I mean, when I talk about Nantucket, they don't know what I'm talking about. And when they talk about the vineyard, I don't know what they're talking about. That's just how it works. I mean, traffic stuff, that's ridiculous. You're never going to notice a difference anyway. So I'm more concerned with their people understanding what is happening. That's what always is the problem. So is Terry at the meeting, Bob? Is Terrence at the meeting?
Terrence is here, yes.
I just want to ask him, is there a way to give a positive recommendation with a caveat about Oak Bluffs so that everyone's happy, or should we just continue? I mean, when's the last time I've asked for your guidance? I don't know. Long time ago, but.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is that there needs to be more public dialogue. What I would encourage people to do is, Jonah is more than capable of communicating what exactly he needs to do and how he needs to do it and what he intends to do. You know, we make the recommendation because we do see value, because it has worked out very, very well in Nantucket. I will point out that, you know, since Nat brought me into this, there is several months ago, Mr. Tisbury Towing actually recommended that we deny the proposal. That was one of their comments in our public hearing. So that's been kind of, as John represented, it's a new development with them. So I think we need to explore that with Mr. Packer as well. So I think, you know, what I would recommend at this point, if my recommendation means anything, is to have Jonah participate in the Oak Bluffs meeting, so they can ask him directly. And he's more than capable of doing that. I know he'll do well. And then take that information and we can roll it into the calculus and come up with even more information. I'm pretty confident that if that happens, then all their answers should be forthcoming. I can't see why they go forward.
Can I make a recommendation that he contact Debbie Potter, who's the executive secretary in Oak Bluffs? I don't have the telephone number off the top of my head.
I'll coordinate that with you, John, if that's something you're interested in.
And maybe that's something you can contact her and maybe get on your agenda for their meeting coming up on next Tuesday, and that might answer a lot of questions.
Okay, so in the interest of time, and that the reason I asked to bring it to a vote was to bring this to a head, not per se,
No, I know.
not per se
I just,
to do anything that would be against.
It's very rare. It's very rare that we run into stuff like this. This hasn't happened in a while. So I'll make a motion to continue this matter to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
So just, I'll take advantage of Terry. So, or Terrence, is that the right step for us to take here, to have a continue or to a table, or what's the right thing we should do here for?
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine if you want to continue it to the next meeting, Rob.
Okay, very good. So I think we have a motion on the table and it's been seconded. So let's do a roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
John?
Aye, Tisbury, aye.
Eric?
Fairhaven, aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Gordon?
Hi.
Munir, aye. Motion passes.
Rob, if I may,
Yes.
I just add one piece, I'll be quick, I promise. I'd be happy, Jonah, to help you facilitate a conversation with Tisbury Towing, if you so like.
I appreciate the offer. We know Tisbury very well, so we'll reach out to Mr. Packer directly and discuss further with him.
Yeah, but I would think probably you should start with Glenn.
Yep.
Glenn, please. All right. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Very good. Thanks for the robust conversation, Jonah. Thanks for joining us. And let's move on to the business summary. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, John.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mark.
We get the business summary for the month of May. So for the month of May, passengers for both routes combined were down 3.2% or just over 8,800 passengers. And these are all one-way traffic statistics. Year-to-date passengers were up 0.4% or 3,500 passengers, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down. Passenger vehicles carried, both routes come down, combined for the month of May, we're down 6.2%, pretty evenly split percentage-wise. Year-to-date, we're down 5% at just over 10,000 vehicles, and we can see both islands continue the trend of the standard for autos and trucks being down. Freight vehicles, for the month of May, both routes combined were up 2% or 197 vehicles, or 100 round trips roughly. Year-to-date, we're up 258 vehicles or 0.7% for both routes combined. Cars parked for the month of May, which goes hand in hand with the passengers carried, we're down 3.9% or 694 vehicles for both routes combined. Year-to-date, though, we are still up 8% or just over 3,400 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket being marginally down or 160 vehicles. Trip summary. Here we can see for the month of May, we had 29 mechanical trips canceled, 0 for weather, 23 for traffic, and 43 for crewing. We are up this year compared to last year, both in mechanicals, weather, and crewing, for comparison purposes. So we go to the financial snapshot for the month of May. We had total revenue up $752,000, and really the other income were up both on the interest income and also timing on grant revenue. As you can see, sliding over to the right for the year-to-date and other income, we're up $630,000. That's really interest income. We didn't expect the rates to stay this high for this long. For the total expenses, we're down for the month $637,000, which brings us for the net operating income, not a loss. First time for the month we've done this. We're up $4.9 million for the bottom line, ahead of budget by $1.3 million. Year-to-date, our operating loss is $10.7 million, which is lower than budget by $1.8 million. We were forecasting to be in around a $12.5 million loss right now, so we're ahead of budget to the good on that. You go into little details here. So we can see the operating revenue is down $615,000, 4.4%, and it's really tying back to the traffic statistics of the auto, passengers, and freight. Year-to-date revenue is down 2.2% or $926,000, and again, it's the primary leader here is the automobile revenue. That's both the quantity and the type of vehicles that were down. The standard fares are driving that number. Operating expenses for the month, we were down 5% or $574,000. Year-to-date, we're down 3.3% or $1.9 million. A lot of this is tied into the maintenance budget. We can see up top down 1.7 for the year, and most of that is timing. There are some expenses we don't expect to incur, such as the Oak Bluff dock weathered the winter very well this year, so we had minimal repair work to the that we budget. But most of that number is timing. So the expenses we expect to flatten out close to budget for the next 6 months of the year, 7 months of the year. Passengers carried for the month of June, we had better weather, more trips running. So looking for both routes combined, we're up 3.6%, with the Vineyard being up 5.7%. Year-to-date, we're up almost 1% and just over 8,000 passengers, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down. Total vehicles carried, we're up 3.8% for the month for the first 2 weeks of June. On the Vineyard route, virtually flat on the Nantucket route, we're up 43 vehicles. In both routes for the first 2 weeks of June, we're up 2.5%. Here, I think that's the first time I've seen the standard fare autos not red for a long time. So with that, I would be happy to, and a lot of just be timing on the weather, you know, something like that, but it's so marginally, minuscule. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the business summary.
Thank you, Mark.
How did July and August look?
Eric, I hope you got a good sense of the numbers here. And you'll be digging into these more and more as time goes by. There's an awful lot behind that. We used to have spreadsheets that were eye blurrers, and Mark's been able to turn these into an executive summary, which is what he just gave us of the numbers that he works with each month. So open for discussion. Any questions from the board council?
I mean, the only thing, Mark, is the 7:30, but last year it didn't run, so the numbers are actually comparable now.
Yeah, so for the budget, we used I believe it was top of my head for 2024, the August actual through August 23 through, August 22 through July 23, where we didn't run the third trip in June, July, so the fast ferry really shouldn't be that affected that much. But going forward, you know, for the month of August, it will be affected, looking at that, so that's an area of concern. But a lot of that last trip is generally a lower ridership number, and it's a more expensive trip where it's more crewing, for that one trip. So there's offset, the revenue will be offset by some cost savings for that trip. One concern going forward for the next 2 months is the decreased capacity on the Nantucket run with the Sankaty compared to the Woods Hole. Seeing how that plays out for the next couple of months as far as revenue goes on the Nantucket run. The Vineyard run, I think with the Woods Hole and the aggregate total volume where sometimes you cancel trips on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I think it'll just be timing of when the vehicles are going, not quantity. So I think there we're not going to see any through vessels running any changes on the revenue numbers on this run.
Yeah, that's a separate question, but I get exactly what you're talking about, Mark.
So tying into the 7:30, just putting it in a global perspective.
Got it. Rob, through the chair, may I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Just how does July and August look for you guys?
The bookings originally through the Head Start was solid. I believe it was up, but some of that, the question is that people more planning in advance because now, you know, 3 years ago, you just walked into a restaurant without a reservation. Now you don't go anywhere without a reservation.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of the timing, and that's where it's just tying into knowing what your question was, I got heard ahead of time, is I think some of it's gonna be more in the Nantucket run, looking at, you know, what impacts are gonna be for the next 2 months.
Okay. Are there spaces available?
Generally in the summer, the Nantucket run fills up very tight.
Yeah.
The Woods Hole run, the Vineyard run, has space available, just a matter of what the timing is.
Yeah.
You know, the weekends generally sell out, you know, as everyone knows, as soon as they become available.
Right.
You know, it was like the boat this morning coming over on the 7:30, there were only 18 cars on the boat, but who's gonna be leaving the Vineyard to do it both of them?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the 9:30 out of home, leaving the Vineyard, there's space pretty much every day of the year.
Right.
Because no one wants to travel at 9:30 leaving the Vineyard at night. So it's really a timing issue where, you know, when you wanna go. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
And so last month I promised to go over the fuel hedge program. Real briefly, just to give an idea of what we do. This is a nice tool that we use to shield ourselves from significant price fluctuations in the fuel prices we have. So since 2008, we've been working with our consultant Hedge Solutions. What this program does, it allows us to better forecast and contain our fuel costs while minimizing upside price risks. The best way to think of this program is insurance. It's something where it's capping us where back in 2022, when fuel went to $5.65 a gallon, you know, we're getting money back against that significant rise in prices. What we do is we buy fuel hedges, officially called APO call options. It's of the ultra low sulfur diesel. Each contract is 42,000 gallons. and the contracts expire on the last trading day of the month. APO stands for the average price option. So what it is, it's the average of the spot contracts daily settlement. So if the price started the month at 2 and ended at 3, and it incrementally went up every day, it would settle at 250. So it's not the last day of trading, it's the averages during the month, which really coordinates with how we get fuel every day of the month. So it's a pretty good correlation there. Generally speaking, we make purchases 12 to 18 months in advance. It might be shorter term, depending on what's going on in the market, or there might be opportunities that we might go outside of 18 months. But generally, we're in that quarter of 12 to 18 months. One thing, if you go too far out in advance, you pay more premium for risk, just like the stock market because of the uncertainty. The hedges, we purchased them through a vendor, FC Stone we use, and that's from Commodity Mercantile Exchange. All trades are settled daily, there's no margin, it's all cash trade, so as far as risk and volatility goes, it's minimized. The monthly quantities we use are based on the operating schedule plus what the vessel's fuel consumption is. So we look at how many trips, how many gallons they use, we calculate how much we need. The hedge purchases, they include the contract month, the strike price, i.e. what we expect the price of fuel to be. We would take that delivery at, we're actually going to take delivery, and what they call the contract premium. That is the actual price to buy the option. During 2022 with Ukraine, those premiums skyrocketed because there was so much uncertainty in the market. Was Europe even going to get fuel? So, that's something we look at. And this is based on New York delivery. We buy our product, our contract fuel price for our physical deliveries based out of Providence. These contracts are based in New York. So we look at the correlation. Historically, what we call the basis is the difference between a New York and Providence delivery. We factored it into our budgeting cost. Just like sometimes you see silver in this market saying it's X of $29 an ounce, but you go to cash and then you're not really getting $29 for physical silver. Yeah. So there is some of that difference between on paper and physical delivery. So here's an example of how it works. So for example, this past June, we have one contract with a strike price of $2.22. At the end of the month, it settles at $2.44. So we've received 22 cents a gallon on that contract times 42,000 gallons, or $9,240 dollars for each contract that we had at that price. Conversely, if the price settled at $2.12, we'd be what they call out of the money, so there'd be no value to that contract. However, the authority most likely would have benefited from lower prices on delivery. So we would have been paying $2.12 where we would have budgeted at roughly around that $2.22. So we would receive the actual physical cheaper payout for our deliveries, if that makes sense to everyone. Kind of. So I can go over it again. So basically, if we go back to slide. So for the month of June last month, the price settled at $2.44. Yeah. So I had a contract at $2.22. So basically, we made 22 cents on that contract for $9,240. Yeah. So we got that in our investment account. Okay. Where we're using that money to offset the higher, in this case, the higher price we were paying to our fuel vendor, because we'd have been paying roughly $2.44 for each gallon that month. So you get it back. So yeah, so it's an insurance coming back. So we're paying the vendor money out, but we're getting money in our fund back to offset that cost.
Yeah, think of it like insurance, John.
Yeah, right.
It's insurance.
And ideally, we hope we don't use it, because if fuel's down at $2, yeah, we lost our premium we paid, but we're paying 44 cents or whatever it is lower per gallon. Got it. Thank you. Okay. So on the next slide, this is how we calculate our costs. When I said what the average cost per fuel is per month, is we take the actual cost of our fuel deliveries plus the delivery charges. Then we look at the cost of the hedges that we bought, i.e. the insurance. Then we take any proceeds we get back, just like in that last example, the $9,000. So we subtract any proceeds we get back out for those contracts. And that comes up to what our actual fuel cost for the month is. Then we divide that by the amount of gallons we use for our cost per gallon for that month. So give you an example of 2021 through 2023. So reading the table from left to right, it's our year, what our hedge cost was per gallon, how much we paid in hedges, and I'll go over why there's a significant increase, the proceeds we've received and what the net change was. Then we have the actual cost per gallon, what it ended up in, and the far right is what we actually paid to our delivery charge that month. So if we look at 2022, we've received back $5 million in proceeds, even though we paid $761, so the insurance kicked in, so we actually on our budget paid $2.799, while we were taking deliveries at $5.65 a gallon. So that $4 million brought that number down from $5.65 to $2.80 for the year. So we do 3.5 million gallons a year, a $3 swing, you're looking at a $10 million hit potentially in the budget that we would have a hard time absorbing. That would put us from net income to net loss for the year. So really, 2022 explains why we do this program, is to prevent those wild swings in the market. The reason why the hedge costs went up so much for 2023, you're buying them in 2022, that's when Russia invaded Ukraine. You didn't know if you're getting physical deliveries, how the market was gonna go on. So instead of buying a hedge at 20 cents or 15 cents a gallon, where some of it was 40, 50 cents a gallon on the hedges. We can go to the next slide. We can see the hedge prices in 24 and they're coming down to more reasonable prices because the volatility in the market and the uncertainty is greatly diminished. So right now for the year, we're 85% hedged for where we're expecting the operating budget to be as far as the trips go. We're about 10 cents under right now for what we hedged for last year. But the prices have gone up about 10 cents a gallon right now. So I'd expect if we exercise the other 15% remaining, we'd be pretty close to where we were for last year's budget or a flat fuel cost. And it also helps us for budgetary purposes with these hedges, knowing what our northern exposure is. And with that, it'd be very confusing topic, but I'd be very happy to answer any questions anyone has. And I think Nat and Rob, as the tenure in the Port Council, have seen the violent swings in the fuel both ways.
Yeah. And that's, I kind of wanted to, I didn't know you were going to be that informative, Mark, but this is like the George Balco Memorial Program. So we have our Flathers report. Now we have the George Balco report. I love this. So I'm glad we have Eric here now to see this. This has been going on since 2008, like Mark said. And the whole thing about the New York Harbor price stuff is really important because I knew that, but the way you worded it is good information for people to know. And then just the fact that in the summertime, we use most of our fuel when it can be, fluctuate, like issues can happen in this, and that's when we're buying most of it. So this is good.
We can't sell the hedges. Mr. Balco used to ask, and according to the GASB rules, this is used as a hedge. If we treated it as buying and selling these, then it would be a speculative investment, it'd be treated totally differently. Yeah. So we're just using it like a utility is to lock in to protect ourselves from our costs.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the Port Council?
No, good. Thank you, Mark, very much.
That was fascinating and clearly a really important exercise.
Yeah, Mark, we appreciate that.
I'm sure it's a ton of work, but the return is clear.
And of course, in municipal speak, it's already in the system, in the budget. So now it's sort of just normal, but it wasn't once. So
it causes us one less thing to worry about. Our exposure is if you get an out of balance where the physical delivery becomes so expensive going to Providence versus New York. That's our real exposure.
When did you start the hedge?
2009 when the first hedges purchased, but we were working with a consultant in 2008.
Okay.
In 2008, we had to have a mid-season rate adjustment because the fuel just shot through the roof, and we had to make an adjustment for it. And so, following that, we sought out a someone to work with, and we identified Hedge Solutions out of Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And we've been working with them ever since.
Right, because fuel surcharges are so well received.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Okay,
Thank
under old new business, we need to elect a secretary. Bob or Terrence, can you advise who might be eligible? And this is, I guess, because of Mark's,
No.
Mr. Salino has
I have a question I was gonna ask, so I'm not on the old business, on the new business.
All right, well, I don't know where we are. No, never mind.
So, and Terrence, or, yeah, in terms of it, for the chairman's position, it can't be a member from the same town as the chair of the board, so, we're currently, still looking for a core council representative from Barnstable, so that's not an issue. And then the bylaws then, have it that no one should serve, more than 2 consecutive terms in the same capacity. Although that's been suspended, by vote of the Port Council on a number of occasions. So, at this point, there's really no restrictions in terms of who would be eligible to serve as secretary at this point. Since, prior to, Mr. Reese, it was Mr. Cahill. And I think generally, this position has just rotated amongst the staff, amongst the Port Council members, so.
okay. As I recall, having been secretary, the main job is to make sure that the minutes are signed, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the primary role, is to make sure that the minutes have been approved, and then to sign off on those minutes.
Okay.
Can we get up a new guy? Just a question.
Well, I know that Joe and John have both recently served, and I guess, Gordon, I didn't know if maybe you might be willing to take this on as sort of the beginning of the rise through the ranks.
Yeah, Eric and I were just looking at each other. It's like, is this like Port Council hazing? Like who's the new guy, right? You're gonna.
When you go to the bench, yeah.
So moved.
So.
So I hear a motion to have Gordon Carr be elected secretary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Let's start in the room. John?
Just Barry, aye.
Over
Joe?
left side.
Eric?
Fairhaven, I squared.
Nat?
Aye.
Gordon?
Wait till I tell the kids. All right.
Munir, aye. The motion passes. Congratulations, Gordon. Thank you.
Congratulations, the campaign worked.
Rob, I just have one thing under new business.
Yes, go ahead.
It's the osprey incident that happened in Oak Bluffs on Wednesday night, where the osprey nest fell off the perch, hit the power line, and the power went out, and I come to find out that generator has not been installed yet. Any chance of when we can get that done? I think it was out for about, we were only out for about 20 or 30 minutes, rather, but I think downtown was out for about 2 hours.
So right now, we're waiting, I'm waiting to get the shipping details from our facilities manager.
Okay.
So
As soon as
that should be, yeah, so as soon as we get those shipping details, then we can move on and have that.
okay, thank you. It is true, the osprey nest fell down.
I saw that,
It hit the
yeah.
power line.
So actually, what we're waiting on, I believe we actually have the generator.
Yeah, we have it.
We just don't have the transfer switch, and that was supposed to have been shipped, and then we already have electricians lined up to install it.
Thank you.
I heard it was the Joe Salito plaque that was holding it up.
It's out for engraving right now.
Thank you, Joe. Any other old business or new business?
I have a couple things,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Nat.
Chairman. I'm just, trying to find positive stuff to talk about because we need positive things. When the Barnstable comes up, and I don't know if Mark A is on and all that, but I'm really excited about the potential, and I'm just strictly saying potential of a, cruise being able to, test run, whatever, getting familiarized with this boat. This is going to be a big thing to happen. Unfortunately, it's happening in the middle of the summer, which makes it harder. But if there's some ingenious way internally with all the minds in Falmouth office to come up with some kind of way to miraculously run that boat out here as a test and to move vehicles at the same time. Wow, would that be cool if that could happen? It's like a little, possibility that would be incredible and very positive for everybody to know that if that happened, like that would be great publicity for the steamship. And oh, go ahead. Sorry.
But if I may respond to that, Mr. Chair.
Please go ahead.
So yeah, much like what we did when we brought in the Woods Hole, or when we had the Island Home and the INO, we would be looking to opportunities for the training exercises to be able to bring the Barnstable, whether it's to Woods Hole, Fairhaven, Nantucket and or Hyannis. That'll be part of a training program that we'll be doing. And my recollection was that when we did it with the Woods Hole, that there actually was an opportunity that they took a load over to Nantucket or over to the Vineyard as part of the training exercise. So we'll be looking at that as well. But getting the boat up here, getting it all outfitted, and then start working on training the crews. There will be members of our fleet personnel will be on board the vessel. The senior captain assigned to the vessel. The plans are to have that person be bringing the vessel up. We'll have chief engineers assigned, oilers, and then we'll be working on supplementing them with additional crews that we'll be looking to hire from down in the Gulf.
Thank you, Bob. This is great. I mean, I'm just being wishful thinking. I'm not trying to jinx anything like I normally do. This is just sort of trying to be positive. And then I just want to openly thank the Hyannis terminal people and how they're doing over there, dealing with all this. They're actually, they got a lot on their shoulders right now, and they're actually doing a pretty good job. I was just talking with one of the agents the other day about something that happened with a little drive-on thing with the tow motor, and I think that they're figuring it out. So shout out to them for dealing with all this. Thank you.
I think obviously the terminal people, and they work closely with the vessel crews as well to try to maximize the load. So
Stuff and everything on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that as well, like that, working with them and getting every little nook and cranny with a car or with whatever's going on is huge, especially with the Sankety on. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Nat. If nothing further, any public comment?
if there's any public comment, please press the raise your hand icon.
Don't see any. Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call. John, we'll start with you.
Cahill, Tisbury, yes.
Toledo, Wapsie, yes.
Fairhaven, aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Munir, aye. Thank you. Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.